I'm going to show you a chord I reckon 90% of musicians aren't aware of, or perhaps they are aware but they don't use it, and it is a super chord for ambient music. In fact, using this chord shape, which I'll explain fully in a moment, using this chord shape we can produce 7 chords, which again are perfect for ambient music. Now, it's an easy chord to produce. I shall attempt to name it. It's a bit strange, but you'll see what I mean. If you are not well versed in the naming of chords, worry not, because I will show you a super easy way to form these chords in any key. Now, if you are familiar with this chord and do use it, hats off to you. If that sounds interesting, let's head over to the music machine and see what it's all about. Oh, I will also create a really short demo putting these chords together so you can hear what they sound like in the context of a piece of ambient music. Let's get going. So the first thing I've done is to select a nice pad sound, and I'm using Pigments because I know a lot of you have it and it has some super sounds in it, and this is the sound. Now, it's a slow pad and it evolves because I'm going to play some of these chords for a long time and I don't want to get bored with them. So that's the first thing. Right, here is the chord. Now, if you're looking at the keyboard, you may be thinking, I sort of know what that is. If you're a bit fuzzy about chords and naming conventions and so on, don't worry. I will give you a super easy way to work out what these chords are in any key at all. But while you are listening to this, I want you to think, is this major? Is this minor? Or perhaps is this a suspended chord? Now, if you know a little bit about chords, you will know that this is probably not a major chord or a minor chord or a suspended chord. If you're a bit fuzzy about chords, let's just go over a couple of basics. So we'll say that this is in the this is the key of C. Everything I'm going to do is in the key of C. It's going to use all the white notes. So the lowest note, we get our sense of tonality of what a chord is, usually from the lowest note, not always, but usually. So in this instance, C is the lowest note, so we're going to say this is a C chord of some description. It does go on for a while, doesn't it? So our sense of major or minor in this comes from the third, which would be this. This is a major third or a minor third. Let's just add the major third into this chord and see what it sounds like. Here's the third. Now, I don't know about you, but that just adds a little more brightness to the sound, I think. So maybe this is a bit of a major sounding chord, but it hasn't got a third in, so our ears are not 100% sure. Let's try this with the minor third. No, that is definitely not a minor chord. That just doesn't fit in with the minor vibe coming from there. It's sort of in between a major and a minor. But the whole point of this is it's not major, it's not minor, it's floating around, it doesn't know where it is, what it wants to do, where it's going to go. So this is perfect for ambient music. Now, I did mention sus chords, so let's have a very quick look at sus chords. There are 2 sus chords, the suspended fourth and the suspended second. And the way I think about it, this might seem a bit weird, but the way I think about it is we take the third and we suspend it up to the fourth, or we suspend it down to the second. That sort of makes some sort of sense in my peculiar little brain. So this is a C. This is C major. This is the third. So if we suspend this up to the fourth, that's the sound we get. And if we suspend it down to the second, that is the result. Now, suspended chords are great in ambient music because, again, they are neither major nor minor. But I think suspended chords have a very particular sound of their own. And this chord, which is the one I'm demonstrating now, it doesn't have that suspended feel. So this, I think, is another super chord to add to your ambient arsenal. But not just this, because there are 7 chords in total we can create from this pattern. I shall get into this in just 1 second. Now, for those of you who do understand a little bit about chords and chord names and so on, you might be wondering how we would describe this chord. Well, I'm not going to go into the weeds about this, but to me this looks very much like a C major 7 chord. That's a C major 7 chord, but without the third. So personally, I would call this a C major 7 and then in brackets no third. Now that might sound a bit weird, but if I said to a musician, "Hey musician, play me a C major 7 chord without the third," then they might give me a funny look, but I am 99% certain that this is what they would play. Now, if you are not into chords and chord names, a really super easy way to produce this chord and the other chords we're going to talk about is just to number the keys in the scale. This is the scale of C, and we number the notes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and so on. So to produce this chord, we use 1, 5, and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is a super easy way to produce this chord in any key. Let's use E. All those lovely sharps. So again, if we number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is our chord in the key of E, which would be E major 7, no third. So hopefully that will help you form this chord, know how it's formed, or be able to produce it whenever you wish using one of these 2 methods. Now, as I said, I think this is a super ambient chord, but we can make other chords using the same chord shape. So if you are playing this on a keyboard and just lock your fingers into that position and move everything up 1 key, we get this. And have a listen to this. Is this the same quality as that? It's very similar, but it's not exactly the same. But let's use our naming convention and see if we can see what sort of chord this is. Well, if we use the same principle that we used before, and we do add the third, if we're using all the white keys in the key of C, add the third, this is a D minor 7. And of course, this is our chord, so it is a D minor 7 in brackets, no third. And if you can hear a slight different tone between these 2 chords, that's because, let's get back to our C chord. If you look at the top 2 notes, they are, the interval between the 2 is a major third. This is a major third interval. So even though the chord itself, if we say it's a C chord, even though we say, well, it's not major or minor, it does have a major interval in it, so perhaps it just gives us a little touch of majorness. Now, when we move on to the D chord, the D minor 7, no third, the upper interval is a minor third. So it gives us a little bit more of a minor feel, if you like. Now it's all very subtle and so on, but it's things you might like to take into consideration when you are using these chords and creating your ambient music. I just think this is a super sound. It's a really nice, soft, mellow sound. It's a little bit more mellow than our major 7 chord down here. Okay, so that's 2 chords. So what can we do now? Well, we can just move up the scale. We're in the key of C. We're using all the white notes. So again, if we just move all these notes up 1, we get this, which is an E. And again, using white notes, this would be E minor. So this is an E minor 7, no 3rd. Moving everything up again. This is an F major, an F major 7, no 3rd. Going up again, this is a G. Now this is a little bit of an interesting chord, because if we add the 3rd, which is the B, that's our G major chord, this is the 7th note, but it's not a major 7. The F sharp would be the major 7, but we're using all the white notes, so this is a G7 or G dominant 7 to give it its full title. So this would be G7, no 3rd. Now normally a 7th chord, it has a bit of a rock and rolly feel, used a lot in rock and roll, also used in pop music and rock and all other sorts of music, but it sort of wants to go somewhere. It leads you onto another chord. So 7th chords are probably not what you would generally use in ambient music. Not to say that you can't. You can use whatever chord you like. But if we take the 3rd out, as we have done here, I think that sounds very ambient. And it has a minor 3rd at the top. So perhaps that slightly softens any dominant 7th effect we might get. So let's move on and move on up, and this is A, and this would be our 3rd, so that would be A minor, and this is a chord of A minor 7. Remove the 3rd. This is A minor 7, no 3rd. So that is, I think, 6 really useful chords. Here's the last one, and this is a bit of a weird one. If we do this with starting on the note of B, this is our chord. Now if you have a listen to this, now to me that sounds a bit eerie, a bit spacey, a bit mysterious. It doesn't jar or clash or clang, but perhaps it would not be a chord to use in relaxing ambient music. Who knows? Use it if you wish. But this is a strange chord, because in the key of C, if we build a triad starting on B, we get the diminished chord, the chord no one likes to talk about. It doesn't really fit into ambient, I don't think. As a rule, it's a very useful chord, diminished chords in all sorts of music. But here we've added a 7th, and I don't know. You have to make your own up. You have to make up your own mind about this. I don't think that is a particularly relaxing ambient chord. If we take the 3rd away, I still think it's a little bit edgy. Depends on the vibe you are going for. But if you are doing something dark ambient or dark and mysterious, I think this is a very valid candidate. So that's the 7 chords. And a very long release tail. So that's the chord, or chords. What do you think? Have you used anything like this before? I suspect if you followed any of the ideas in my super smooth ambient chords video, link in the description. You may even have used this chord or a chord very like it by accident, just by moving the notes around. Anyway, I have put these chords together in a very short piece of ambient music so you can see what they sound like in context. So let's have a quick listen to that. So this is the short piece which I put together for a demo, and you can see it's not very long, it's a minute or so. And these are the chords which I have listed above. Now Cubase does not do major seventh nor third chords, so I've just put the root in, so C major 7, D minor 7, and so on, just to give you a guide as we are moving through. I have added a drone. It's just a C note just throughout the whole piece, just to ground it. The yellow part is the chords, and I've added a little piano melody tune motive thing over the top, just to give it a little bit more of an ambient flavour. So I'll just play through this, and I shall show you the chords as we go. And you can see I've just played them all in root position essentially, but the chords being chords, you can of course play them in any position. You can move the notes around, you can invert them to fit in with your chord progression. I have added reverb to these. And we finish on, this is the F major 7 no third. What's quite interesting, it's preceded by our G7 chord, and the F major 7 no third chord, the top two notes are C and E, so it sort of has a C feeling, and the G7th chord naturally leads into C, so I think that finishes the piece quite nicely. So the secret chord is secret no longer. But what I find really interesting and useful about these chords are that they don't have a major or minor feel to them, and are therefore super useful in ambient. Other than that, we have extended chords and so on, but if we are looking at a chord without a definite major or minor feel, then we are really only looking at suspended chords. So this really gives you another boatload of chords to put in your ambient chord arsenal. I hope you have enjoyed this and found it useful and inspiring, and go away and make some wonderful music with it. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you have enjoyed the video, there's a big subscribe button and a like button. Clicking either or both would be absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for doing that. I will see you again in the next video.